Have you ever been on a roll, making big moves, only to suddenly stop? And then you're terrified that you've disappeared and lost all of your momentum. This time of year, the pressure to be on is intense. But today, we're talking about why those stop and starts aren't failures. They are a sacred, necessary part of the healing rhythm. I'm Sable, and welcome to week one of the Holiday Self-Honoring Challenge, proudly sponsored by Gifted, by FreeFrom, and the Network Lorette. Let's get into it. What I'm I want to talk to you about vulnerability hangovers because this is at the core of what stop and starts have looked like and felt like for me lately. So recently, I have been making quite a few intentional moves to be visible in the work that I do. And and I'll get specific. So I actually a few weeks ago I did an announcement on my email listserv for my old business, but also on my LinkedIn, where I officially I launched my brand pivot, but it more importantly, I also disclosed that I'm a survivor of intimate partner violence. And it's something I knew I had to do for me that, and I could talk to you about the decision, but it was important for me to do it because, I do learning and development work, and I'm also leaning into being a speaker and an advocate around intimate partner violence. And even though I have up until this point in time have viewed these things as separately, my brain and how I approach both is like I use like the same lens and the same framework that has guided me in my healing journey, um, that I've used in helping transform teams and organizations and leaders. And so it's something I dreaded. I absolutely dreaded. I wanted to, find find a place to hide, dig the deepest hole on planet Earth, plop me in the bottom and hide there. But it's something I knew I had to do for me. And so I created a plan around it. I was like, I'm going to make this post, I'm going to reach out to these people, and it's going to go like that. And then I actually changed my mind. I made that announcement to an email list, and even though, mind you, all I had was positive, loving support. I had to schedule send the email because I just the act of pressing send is too much. Like I needed distance, otherwise I would never do it. But in the aftermath, should I call it, of sharing out that email, I was like, you know what? Never mind. Cancel this entire plan. 86 it. The vulnerability hangover was so hardcore. I felt outside of my skin. I felt like my skin had been snatched away from me. Looked, when I thought about checking my email, it felt like it bore into my soul, and I wanted to just avoid it and push it away. Um, it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying because even though it was something I know that I needed to do, it activated a lot of old stories for me. And it actually activated a lot of stories that were connected to actually narratives that really were strong within the context of the abusive relationship I was in. And so it brought up feeling like, oh, I'm so untrustworthy. I'm so unprofessional. No one can trust me to be relied on or my expertise because I'm so inconsistent, right? Now, I mention this because within the context of the abuse that I experienced, I didn't recognize this at the time, but a lot of the times, spikes in intense incidents or violence happened around like different I would say professional milestones or attempts to, do things for myself and my business. And what that ended up looking like on the outside is I would start these big things and then sort of disappear like a ghost. And I started because, I had hope and I was trying to do something and create something, and I disappeared because of, you know, a violent incident would happen, it would swallow my capacity. I needed time and space to recover, and then coming outside of whatever that recovery might have looked like, then I was just left with all this shame around, I said I was going to show up and do this thing, but then I didn't because of all this other stuff going on. And, my I will say the way my ex-wife had showed up had really only fueled the narratives of like, oh yeah, I'm so unprofessional, I'm so inconsistent. And, which worked because it kept the attention off of her and what she was doing and her choices and the consequence of all that other stuff. So this is all of these old stories, I've done a lot of work around them, but when I hit send or hit schedule send and saw the clock pass and knew that email went by, I actually was like, nope, never mind, because all of these stories came back up. Even though in the present day and time, I don't have any evidence that those stories are true, it's almost as if the ghost of these things came back as like I don't know. It wasn't quite a haunting, but it was because it was just in the room with me. And I decided, I really couldn't take it. So I chose not to do, I decided, you know what, never mind on this LinkedIn announcement. And then and then I was in a meeting with somebody and I checked my email and I saw it was a LinkedIn notification that said two people have commented on your post. And then I was like, what post? What are you talking about? And I realized, oh my God, I scheduled that post and I never canceled it. And by the time I logged into LinkedIn, it was too late. I mean, I could have, but by then I had dozens of reactions and two people had commented. So I like to say the universe was like, girl, we got you. We're on your side. We are going to lovingly, push you off this plane. It's time. It's time for you to skydive. But we'll make it tandem. You'll be with somebody who can soothe, help hold the discomfort and the anxiety of this moment. But doing that, the space between the email and the LinkedIn post and the aftermath after that, I um I was just so overwhelmed with all of these stories and felt so outside of myself, despite all the evidence that showed that the stories weren't true. Like I just instead of judging myself for having those noticing those stories in the room, I was just like, okay, you're here. Cool. You're nudging your way onto my to-do list. The plans I had for I'll tell you right now, the plans I had for myself that week, they did not shake out the way that I wanted it to. My psyche was like, "Oh, you have a to-do list?" To that we laugh. And it's interesting because, I did this big start and yet again, here you go, Sable, having another stop. Um, but I realized that this stop and start in this moment, and honestly, all of them, but particularly now, this stop and start, there it's actually a good thing. Like I realize that I'm having to stop because I'm doing something that is aligned and powerful. That it's aligned to my vision for myself. It's powerful, and that has its reverberations. It has its ripple effects, and it's okay for me to take stock and to readjust and to hold space like hold the fact that I did this really brave, scary thing, and there are parts of me that are like, oh my gosh, this is not it. It's okay. And I guess that's sort of how I think about the stop and starts now. It's actually not a sign of failure, but an act of self-care. The moment for it exists because of my brave choices. And I'm, I just have this new relationship with myself where instead of like shaming myself for all the ghosts that different things bring up, I just sort of like let them be. And I also and not only just do I let them be, I honor it and I take it as a sign and an opportunity of like, wow, there's this part of me that trusts myself to let her be seen, right? Because when I think about the ghosts of those old stories, and they truly are ghosts, right? They've been, you know, gutted, put to bed, and there's these passing, lingering essences that just need to be processed and released to the other side. Okay. Um, I think about these old stories and embedded in all of that was so much damn shame. I was just felt so ashamed. I felt so ashamed to, that I I didn't have consciousness of quite exactly like the relationship between my attempts to be visible and do things for myself and my business and like the violence I was experiencing. And because I wasn't aware of that connection and relationship, and because like I internalized a disproportionate and inappropriate amount of blame for what is happening or what was happening, I just felt shame. And it honestly, when I thought about it, it makes sense that all of those old ghosts would come up again when I'm taking the same action. But it's as if there's a part of me that needs to be soothed and understand that actually I am taking the same action, but I'm in a different place now. And they're just, she needs to be caught up and that's okay. And it's okay if I need to stop in order to, let the other parts of me catch up. And that's really like, I mean, talk about the ultimate act of self-care. It's not like hurry up or get left behind. It's, I'm making the brave action, I'm taking the brave steps while I'm scared, and I'm not abandoning the parts of me that feel afraid still. I let them be. And that's what the stop is in the stop and starts. And that really is it's a beautiful thing. And it's a reframe that allows me to have compassion with myself and to soothe myself and to, you know, get myself to where I need to be to take the next step, whatever it may be, on whatever timeline, even if it's not aligned with what's in my planner or what's on my to-do list. And, I say it flippantly, but I do have fighting words with the universe sometimes. I'm like, this is not the plan. This is not my plan. But, it is what it is, and there is still beauty and progress in that. So that's the reframe on the stop and start. And I really hope that that is something that I hope that you can find space to honor yourself in your own stop and starts. Okay, we've just talked about how to honor your own internal safety. But as survivors, we know that true healing requires an ecosystem of safety. That is why this series isn't just me talking to the camera, as lovely as that is, it's a community effort. Now, for economic safety, we are partnering with Gifted by FreeFrom, a survivor-owned business building survivor wealth. Can I get a yes, please, and thank you? They are sponsoring our giveaway. And for crisis and community safety, especially for LGBTQ plus poly and kink siblings, we are uplifting the network LARED. They provide the life-saving hotline and advocacy work that helps keeps us physically safe. I've linked their donation page below, and if this content has served you, I invite you to support them. Now, let's put this into practice. Give yourself permission to do one stop. Take one thing off your to-do list for today that feels overwhelming. Mm, and honor that. So, your action this week is to honor your rhythm. Find one stop and let it be okay. Then I want you to leave your safe share in the comments to enter the gifted giveaway. Just a reminder, to be entered to win, you need to leave a safe share comment on all 4 videos in this challenge by December 31st. Think of it like collecting 4 badges. Once you've commented on all 4, you're officially entered. Now, your safe share can be a full thought, a single word like honoring, a single emoji that represents what you're feeling, like a butterfly or a plant, a seedling, or a heart. Every comment is a valid and powerful way to say, I'm here and I'm doing the work. Next week, we're going deeper into that stop, what I like to call cocooning, and why it's a vital part of doing brave things. Subscribe so you don't miss it.